Jennifer, come join us downstairs. You remember Astrid's friend Jules? Well, he's disappeared, and we simply must find him.
We remember Jules, Uncle Basil. You can count on us. We'll get our coats and be right down. That's Jeremy. He's a really big fan of Astrid's band, Stiff Upper Lip. Jules is in that band too.
Jules was so uptight about his play opening, he wasn't even there. He just sat in his flat, stewing in his own juices. Then this morning, Jules must have heard something about his play. He took off in his car, and then this bloke, Mr. Tony, comes over to the theatre. Well, Mr. Tony buys plays, and he wants a contract with Jules. But it must be signed before Mr. Tony goes back to New York. We have 2 hours to find Jules. Fortunately, Jules is a predictable guy, and I, as the greatest expert on everyone in the band Stiff Upper Lip, know everything there is to know about him. He went to one of 4 places depending on what he believed about the premiere of his play. If he believed the premiere was really bad, he'd have gone east to Dover. He likes to look out from the cliffs when he's feeling really low. If he believed his play was just okay, he'd have gone west to the town of Bath. He'd want to start another better play, and the costume museum in Bath really inspires him. If he believed his play was pretty good, but still had some bad parts, he'd have gone north to Cambridge. The university is quiet, and he could rewrite the bad parts there. If he believed his play was really good, he'd have gone south to Brighton. He'd want to celebrate at the Royal Pavilion. We can't ring him on the phone at any of these places, and we only have time to drive to one of the 4 locations, so we have to figure out what Jules was told about his play before he left.
Well, of course, this reminds me of my book, The Disappearing Draftsman. You see, there was this artist.
Basil, really, how you witter on. Time is of the essence. Let's see if we can find clues about where Jules has gone.
His flat is on Quaint Street. There may be some clues there.
And you said this man from New York, Mr. Tony, is staying at the Ritz.
And let's not forget the theatre. The play that Jules wrote, Castle Perilous, opened last night at the Old Vic.
Jennifer, why don't you investigate these places? I'll see what I can find out at the newspaper office. Jeremy, you go see if Scotland Yard can help.
And what shall I do? Perhaps if I rang the taxi stand and told every taxi driver in England to be on the lookout.
No, Basil, you bring the car round and stand by. Suss out the quickest routes to Dover, Bath, Cambridge and Brighton. Off you go, everyone.
Let's ask at the front desk for Mr. Tony. We'll talk to him about the play he wants to buy from Jules.
Friends of Jules for Mr. Tony? Of course. One moment and I'll ring him for you.
Yeah, this is Mr. Tony. Look, bottom line, I want to bring a play back to New York. Either your friend calls me in the next hour and a half, or I buy Amanda Bott's play. Makes no difference to me. Know what I mean? Your friend Jules is so British, and they love that, oh, I say, jolly good old chap stuff in New York. But I just talked with Amanda Botts over at Chumley's Toy Store. She's American, you know. I can understand her. And if Jules doesn't call me, I'll buy her play instead. Got it? Good. Bye.
Looks like the actors are preparing for tonight's performance of Castle Perilous. Let's ask them if they've talked to Jules since his play opened.
No, I haven't seen Jules since the play opened. I rang his flat when I saw the review in the paper, but he wasn't in.
Review in the paper? What's that all about, Mrs. Skew?
Well, newspapers hire writers to see movies and plays and judge whether they're any good or not. These writers are called critics, and their reports are called reviews.
So they go see movies and plays as their job? Maybe that's what I'll do when I grow up.
Anyway, the critic for the Times has a review of Jules's play in this morning's issue. I tried to tell Jules not to bother reading it.
Why? Does it say the play is really horrible?
I don't know. I didn't bother to read it. It was by N.V. Green, and he hates everything. Nobody ever pays any attention to what he says, Jules included.
Well, I thought the play was wonderful. Of course, I would think so, since I directed it.
Have you seen Jules since opening night? Did you tell him what you thought of the play?
No, you should talk to Astrid. He really respects her opinion on things like that. I think she works over at Madame Tussauds Wax Museum.
Mr. Foscora, why does Jules need to talk to anyone about his plays? Doesn't he know if they are any good or not?
Jennifer, when you work on something really hard, you get used to it. It's like a joke you hear over and over. You forget how good it is. But if you tell it to someone else and they laugh, you know it's still funny. Of course, Jules knows better than to trust his actors' opinions. They're often too full of themselves to think clearly about a play, especially the rather big-headed ones like our Camilla. To her, the only good lines in any play are the ones she gets to speak.
Oh, I rang Jules the moment the play ended last night. I told him exactly what I thought of it.
And what did you think of Castle Perilous, Miss Wren?
Oh, it's a perfectly smashing play, with one or two tiny problems.
And what are those problems?
Well, many scenes in Castle Perilous don't have Lady Clarabelle in them at all. She's a wonderful character, and we should see much more of her.
Who plays Lady Clarabelle in Castle Perilous?
It just so happens that I do.
Astrid works here at the Wax Museum. She and Jules are in the same band together. They know each other pretty well.
Jeremy rang me about Jules. I do hope you can find him in time. Jules takes his playwriting so seriously. Jules is quite predictable, as I'm sure Jeremy told you. If he believed the play was a flop, he'd go to Dover. Just okay, Bath. Good with some bad parts, Cambridge. If he believed the play was really good, he'd scarper for Brighton. If he got my letter, he's in Brighton. After I saw his play last night, I wrote him a letter that said the play went over a bomb.
But I thought you said he'd only go to Brighton if he believed the play was a success.
That's what I said. I saw his play and it was a smash. Fantastic. Magnificent. Great, I tell you, it went over a bomb.
Astrid, in the USA, if your play is a bomb, it means a total flop. Are you saying here in England it means a big success?
Oh yes. If it's a flop, Jules and I call it a dud, not a bomb. How silly you Americans talk sometimes.
When did you deliver your letter to Jules, Astrid? Are you sure that he saw it? And if you told him the play was good, would he believe you?
So many questions, Jennifer. You must be a detective. I dropped the letter off early this morning on my way to work. I put it in his mailbox. Well, if he hasn't seen it yet, I guess it'll still be there. When it comes to his plays, Jules doesn't listen to just anyone. I think the only people he'd believe are Mr. Frescura and Amanda Botts, the writer. And maybe me, Astrid Blake.
That woman is Amanda Botts. She's the other playwright Mr. Tony was talking about. Let's ask her if she talked to Jules about his play.
Like that pen? It's something brand new. It writes in multiple colors. I love it. I use mine all the time now. I think when we put them up for sale, they'll really be popular. Well, I didn't talk with Jules exactly, but I did write him a little note saying that his play was... Well, I told him his play flopped. I'm sorry I did it, because his play was really super, in every way. It was so good, it made me a little crazy, you know? I was jealous that my play wasn't nearly as good as his, so, you know, I guess I kind of blew it. I wrote him this heinous note.
How would he know the note is from you? Did you sign it?
I didn't need to. Jules is really good at recognizing people's handwriting. He'll know for sure it was me, and he'll be hurt. I feel terrible about it now, because Jules and I are actually very good friends. He's helped me learn to get around in London since I came out from Virginia. We don't have a subway, the tube, in Virginia Beach.
I knew right away you were American. You don't have an accent like British people do.
That's funny. All my British friends tease me about my American accent, and the words I use sometimes mean different things to my British friends. Here in London, we're the ones with accents, Jennifer. You know, I've heard that Mr. Tony wants to buy Jules's play. Even though I envy Jules, I'm very excited for him. I hope you can find Jules in time to sign a contract.
Jules lives in that apartment over the eyewear shop, and that's his mailbox down below.
Yes, I saw Mr. Jules, this morning when I delivered his morning issue of the Times. He was anxious to see it.
Hey Gemma, can we see an issue of the paper? We need to look at the section about the theater.
Sure, here you go.
Uh-oh. Big article about Jules's play, Castle Perilous. It's written by the critic N.V. Green. The headline says, Theater Perilous. And the review reads, although one or two lines shown small rays of hope for young playwright Jules Harper, on the whole this boring little bit of melodrama was merely okay.
Yes, Jules left this morning. He packed quite a few things in his car. I think he might be gone for a few days.
Did he say where he was going?
No, he did leave me a note about taking care of his cat, Gawain. Here, you can read it if you want.
Look, this note is written on the back of someone's letter. This is a great clue. We know Jules had this note in his hand when he decided to go on his trip because of what he wrote on the back. A bomb. Wow, that sounds pretty bad to me. Well, we can't fool around with somebody else's mail. We know all we need to know about Jules in this play. Pick the clues that show we know where he's gone. Now where is Jules? If you heard his play was good, pick Brighton. Bad, pick Dover. If it was just okay, Bath. Good but needed some rewriting, Cambridge. You got it! Jules went off to Brighton to celebrate his play's success. To solve this case, we had to find out two things. What had Jules heard about his play, and did he believe what he heard? Astrid told us that when it came to plays, Jules only trusted the opinions of a few people. Mr. Frescura, Amanda Box, and herself, Astrid Blake. What anyone else said did not matter. We knew he got a letter from A.B. that told him the play went over a bomb. But which A.B. was that? Amanda Botts or Astrid Blake? If Amanda Botts, an American, wrote it, he might have thought the play was a disaster because that's what a bomb means to Americans. But if the letter we saw was from Astrid, then he'd know that your play went over a bomb meant that it was a great success. The key was the unopened letter in Jules' mailbox. It was written in multicolored ink. We saw that Amanda had a pen that writes like that. It was brand new, not yet on sale. That's when we knew that the note Jules had seen was from Astrid Blake. We called Uncle Basil and sent him to Brighton. And sure enough, he found Jules in the Royal Pavilion, and Jules called Mr. Tony just in time.